Welcome to the Faith and Business Podcast. I'm your host, Elle Edwards, here with Bible-friendly brain gymnastics to help you embrace your inner weirdo so you can choose happy every day without first needing to make a bunch of changes. Yes, I say that every time, but it's true. It's a good reminder. Why do we do these things? I'm doing this work because I want you to be happy. And I want you to be happy so that you're so full to the top with happiness and joy and God's love that it can't help but sort of oodle out of you and impact the world around you. And that's my ulterior motive. And so that's why I'm doing this work. I love the happiness stuff. I love making people smile. And it's really exciting to me that God lets me do this work. I've been going around in circles for, that's another story, but started this work, maybe 5-6 years ago, going around in circles, different iterations of it. And then finally last year, middle to the end, God was like, right, just do it already. And so I am. This is me just doing it already. Incidentally, if this is the first episode you've listened to this week, I would encourage you to go back and listen to the rest of them, because all this week we've been thinking about those times when life feels a bit difficult. I started on Monday by reminding you that it's okay to feel those feelings. Don't just push them away. Tuesday, we talked about the need for community, conversation, not needing to do it on your own. We then talked about the reminder to get enough sleep and eat. And yesterday, I told you it was time to redirect your thinking, to think lovely thoughts. Now, finally, today, I have for you Thessalonians, it's a long one, Thessalonians chapter 5, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. This is verses 16, 17, and 18. It says, rejoice always. We're going to get to that word always in a minute. Rejoice always, pray continually. Again, continually, all the time. Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. Now, the good news, I would like just to remind you here, it's not in this verse. I would refer you back to Romans chapter 12, verse 1. The Message version says, here's what I want you to do, God helping you. And so what I want to remind you from the outset with this episode, this idea to rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances. Humanly speaking, that's really difficult, if not impossible. I would say impossible, right? But just remember, you do not have to do this on your own. Yes, you can have community, but more importantly, God helping you. Yeah, you're not meant to willpower your way to give thanks continuously. Give thanks, rejoice always, give thanks in all circumstances. Actually, not just is it okay to ask God to help you. He wants you to help you. He's your Father. When Jesus taught his disciples, and therefore by extension us, to pray, he started with our Father in heaven. Now, incidentally, this is a bit of a tangent, but it's relevant. At the moment, if you're in the UK, you might have come across a gentleman called Selwyn Hughes. He's passed away now. But he's got a series called Every Day with Jesus, and my mum gets it for me. She's had a lot of mentions this week, my mum. I should probably tell her that she's been featured lots in the podcast. She doesn't do podcasts. She just about has learned how to send Facebook messages on her iPad, and I taught her how to do GIFs, which is brilliant. Anyway, but I still tell her and make sure I thank her. And mum, if you do listen to this, thank you. But I have the Every Day with Jesus, and this month's episode, or this month's issue, is focusing on the Lord's Prayer. And it was really interesting. You can read these things, and as children, you recite, Our Father in heaven, hallowed. You learn how to recite it almost by rote. But the reminder that we've had as we go through it is actually when Jesus taught his disciples, and therefore us, to pray. He starts with Our Father, the reminder that actually we're in relationship in heaven, and that reminder of how big and amazing and wonderful God is. And I thought that was awesome. And so I'm reminding you of that when I say this, because you don't have to rejoice always, pray continuously, give thanks in all circumstances by your own devices. I just remembered it all off by heart. I feel very pleased with myself right now. You don't have to do it by yourself, okay? That's what I want to say from the outset. So if you're having a difficult week and you were to have this episode and have me go, give thanks in all circumstances, and actually, I don't know, the dog's just been sick on the carpet, you stubbed your toe, this thing has happened, that thing happened. It's really hard to give thanks for those things. Let's be quite honest about it, yeah? But sometimes that giving thanks piece, I think it actually comes afterwards with the benefit of space. Now, one of the stories I give by way of example, it's not a particularly happy story, but we're going to tell it very briefly. In between my second and third child, I had a miscarriage. And obviously, as you might imagine, it wasn't a very fun experience. However, if someone said to me, right, Elle, I'm going to wipe clean, that's never going to have happened, do you want me to undo that? I'd be like, well, no, because what happened as a result of going through that experience, it gave me a different and a newfound empathy when my younger sister went on to have miscarriages. and other people, friends. One of my closest friends had a number of miscarriages. Now, of course, it's different for each person. I had a miscarriage when I already had 2 healthy girls. My sister and my friend were having miscarriages before they had any children at all. So I'm not saying it's exactly the same, but it does give you a different kind of empathy. And so sometimes that giving thanks in all circumstances piece, it really happens with the benefit of time. Because now, 13 years later, I am actually thankful for having gone through that. As scary as it was, and as sad as it was, and as horrible as it was, I can give thanks for that now. Could I give thanks for it right at the time? Not so much. If someone had told me, give thanks, would I have appreciated it? No, I don't think so. But with the benefit of time, we can give thanks, but it's always God helping us. So what I want to remind you in today's episode, as we round out this little mini series, is that actually, maybe not now today, maybe not right now this moment, but with the gift of time and God helping you, God can make good from this situation. God can take even the really difficult stuff and actually bring benefit. Now, there are examples of really awful, tragic stuff. And I'm in my mind, I'm thinking of people whose children have been murdered, for example. That's quite heavy for somebody who likes lightness. But, we're going to deal with the real things of life here. If someone has lost a child, and let's be honest, they didn't lose it. It wasn't like that they sort of, oops, where did that one go? No, somebody had their child taken from them and killed. If somebody had their child murdered, it's really hard to give thanks in that circumstance. However, it hasn't happened to me personally, but you do hear of stories of people who go on to do incredible things, empowered and in memory of children that they've lost. So even in what, to me, if you were to ask me what is the worst thing that could possibly happen, that would be right up there, But even in what would be considered one of the worst things to ever have to experience, people have given the strength, by God, I would argue, and given the love and to actually give thanks. I don't know if they're thankful for having that, but they can find good from it and they can actually use it for good. Oof, that was heavy. However, the other piece of this as well is I want to encourage you to start practicing looking for those things to be thankful for every single day. Now, we started talking about this a little bit yesterday. And I told you, the more that you practice it, the more that your brain will filter things in. And sometimes you're going to have to scrape the barrel quite low. I do this practice with my 12-year-old at bedtime. I tell him, right, give me 3 things that you're thankful for. And sometimes he's just thankful for the fact that he hadn't had PE that day, or he didn't say that, I'm making it up. But sometimes they're really, really like, oh, I had a really nice egg sandwich for my lunch. Okay. Sometimes we do have to set the barrier to entry quite low on this stuff, but the more that you practice it, the easier it becomes. And so it's no accident that throughout the Bible, we're told to give thanks, rejoice, be thankful. God wrote the book on personal development. And so my other encouragement for you today is just to remind you to start, or continue if you already do it, that practice of thankfulness, gratitude. I'm not saying you've got to write it down in the boring old list. Do it in a way that's true to you, whatever that looks like for you. And if you're not sure, come to the playground. We'll find a way that works for you. Quick plug. But no, genuinely, start looking out for those things that make you smile, those things that you're thankful for, and recording them in some way, documenting them in some way. Okay? Give it a go. Let me know how you get on. This is the final episode for this week. I'll be back on Monday. But in the meantime, thank you for being here. If you've been here all week, thank you so much. It's been my honor to share this with you. I shall catch up with you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.